different today. We actually wanted to, recently we did a deal with these two gentlemen, and these gentlemen are Shane Hudson and Zach Taylor. Yes, sir. Yes, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. And so today, like I said, we're doing little things different today. We kind of want to bring a little some insight on permits and the seriousness of pulling permits, and today we will be talking about a situation where we had Shane approach me about a property that he recently did he was doing a fix and flip on, and it kind of went sideways because the proper permits weren't pulled. So he asked me for help, and then we put it on contract. We reached out to all our buyers, and Zach actually happened to be looking through the Hilco Homes email and said, that's a property for me. It was a beautiful project, and it was a beautiful home. And how different it was compared to when I first sold you the property. It was amazing. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, my name is Shane Hudson. I moved out here from Las Vegas last year in September, and I acquired the property from Alex in November. That's when I got started from it. So pretty much I acquired this property. I wanted to do a fix and flip on it. It was a duplex at the time. I turned it into a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it took me a while to complete the project. Kind of had some headaches with contractors. Mm-hmm. This whole, interview is about permits, right? So, as a new investor, I understand that when you do something new, structural, whether it be the structure of the home, your HVAC, electrical, plumbing, you have to have your contractor go down to the city, pull a permit, and do the necessary work at hand, and then the inspector from the city comes to your house, makes sure everything's in code, and then they close the permit for you. And when you look up their home by the address, it's going to show the permits that you had pulled. So
what website is that where they can check on permits?
I can send the link in the chat if everyone has questions and whatnot. I do have the link. You can pull up any home in San Antonio, whether it be multifamily, house, commercial, and you can see all the permits pulled, the date, the cost, if it's still opened, if it's been closed, all of that. So that's really awesome.
And this is through the Bexar County website as well, right?
Right.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Great. And also today we have Zach Taylor. Why don't you go ahead and kind of give a little introduction?
Hi, my name's Zach Taylor. Zachary, just like the 12th president, pretty easy to remember.
Awesome.
I ended up in San Antonio back in 2001. I was in the Air Force. Got out in 2006, but prior to that, I started investing in real estate here. So I have about 17 years under my belt, flipping houses, buying and selling rentals, and I'm also a RE/MAX broker. Became a real estate broker a little over 10 years ago, so doing that as well, and just kind of got to the point where I got back into flipping this year.
Awesome.
I kind of been out of it for a while. I was holding on to a bunch of rentals, some of them for the last 10 or 15 years, and then as the market improved, we started liquidating those properties and decided to put the money back into flipping, which is a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And an adventure, right?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I would say so.
Never boring.
Yeah.
And you're actually from Nevada, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you, transitioning into Texas,
right,
and the way things are run here, how different is it? Was it a big difference in the way they do things in Nevada?
It's pretty, as far as pulling permits, what I learned is pretty standard. If you're doing anything structural changes in Vegas, if you're pulling permits, you got to pull permits. The city you can still get in trouble for it. Mm-hmm. If you're ripping out carpet, putting in flooring, if you're doing paint, it's not a big deal, right? But the major changes with your electrical, your HVAC, your structural changes, anything with that, you need to pull a permit, or you're gonna get in trouble if they catch you.
So in Nevada, they're a little more real estate's a little more intimidating over there, right? Because would you say it's more leniency over there when it comes to doing rehab and renovations compared to here? Is that what you're saying?
I would say as far as that goes, I don't know if the city, because what I did over there with a townhouse I bought was nothing major with what I did with this house. It was really just laying floors, doing paint. I didn't have any heat on my back, kind of watching my property when I listed it on the MLS to sell it before I came here, right? Mm-hmm. So as far as the leniency, to be honest, I'm not too sure. I can't quite answer that question as compared to San Antonio. Just because over there, I was just starting to get into real estate, right? I wasn't doing any crazy major, fix and flip stuff like I did and came here. This is kind of where I learned my lesson and had to understand that pulling permits, it doesn't matter where you're at, it's important, because even if you get away from it, awesome, but it's going to bite you if you come back later and you get sued because you didn't pull the permits for something that you did that was major, and the city's on the new buyer, new investor, what have you, right?
So let me ask you, you being a new investor in San Antonio and Texas in general, how did you kind of stumble across my property? Like, how did you?
Right. I had a buddy out in Vegas who actually had a fix and flip property right on the corner. And for me, I thought to myself, oh wow, okay, I can get this house, purchase it cash, add a lot of value, and wow, I'm gonna make a bunch of money. It's close to the Riverwalk, Almadome, right, etc. It's growing. We had that whole new SX project coming in. It's been put off multiple times. So I was like, okay, cool. There's a lot of potential here. And so that's when I jumped into it. Alex knows that I act quick, and I just I go.
You act.
Move, man. But that was really what caught my eye about it. And then I thought it was cool how you could literally take a house, even an older one. This one's 1938, and really just do a lot with it and bring it up. I thought that was really interesting. I learned a lot about the whole process. But the thing is that I learned during this process that fix and flip for me isn't my passion, what I want to go for in real estate. Right? So I think there's so many different areas that you can dabble in, and you have to find out what you want to specialize in. And but it was a great learning process. Like, I have no regrets or anything. So.
Yeah, and an important thing to remember here is they're not going to all be home runs.
Right.
You get a lot of homes, and regardless of how much research you do, one thing you mentioned is you have to move quickly on them. And wholesale, and it's not so much. It's the pressure from other buyers, buying it out from under you. So you do have to move quickly. You do have to make calls sometimes based on very limited information, and it's just a risk you take in this business. But most people don't really lose money, but they a lot of times don't make the money they plan to make or expected to make, because it's just the nature of the business. So it can be risky at times, and like I said, they're not all home runs, but. The hope is that when you have a bad one, you can make up for it by getting lucky and getting a good one. And another thing too, is that I would advise anyone doing this is, you talked about the permits, and obviously the importance of that, could make or break you in this business. But really finding a good contractor you can rely on, because I really don't think it was your failure. Not to call, I don't know who your contractor was, but I don't think it was your failure personally. I think you just came in and you trusted someone who was supposed to do things by the letter, and they didn't. So I'd say make sure you get some good references, and that's one thing you can take a little more time, a little more due diligence on. If you can't do your proper due diligence on the house, do it on the contractor. Just make sure, because you guys did some beautiful work. Beautiful in that house. And it's the thing that breaks my heart is a lot of it's getting cut out. A lot of that drywall right now as we speak is getting cut out for a re-inspection or an inspection, and it hurts.
It's sad to me to see it happen that way, because like when me and Shane went into this, we were like talking about like the possibilities of this property, and he was so enthusiastic about it, and and even though it went sideways, but the transformation from what it looked like. I don't know if anybody ever gives you the pictures of it. I think I still have them too. I'll show you after the show, but. The transformation and how well he did on that flip, like there's no doubt if the permit issue didn't come play, I think he would have like gotten some really good money off of that one.
Yeah, of course, and that's kind of what we saw in it too. I was attracted to the fact that the foundation was done. That was great, and it just looks beautiful.
I pulled the permit for that one.
You did pull some permits. Definitely.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's awesome. And it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's who you hire, and it's just a little bit of bad luck, unfortunately. But
so I do want to point this out. If you are in San Antonio, be very mindful that the city of Bear created a task force strictly to go out there and put notes and catch people doing stuff they're not really supposed to be doing. I know contractors. Everybody can easily go down to the development center at the business development center downtown and easily purchase a license, and with no prior training or testing. Like, they don't really question you on that, And so these days, anybody can say they're a contractor, but are they a real general contractor? Do they have experience? Do they at least have like 5 years of experience, 3 years of experience minimum, and kind of, the actual knowledge of it? It's easy for people to get caught up in something that they can't control. This, hiring the wrong contractor, it just happens. You know what I'm saying? And so, City of San Antonio, they are not playing down. They are shutting you down if you have not pulled out one permit out of your rehab or your renovation. They will make you tear that thing up, and it hurts, especially when it's not your fault. You know what I'm saying? So just be very mindful of that. In San Antonio, they're not playing no more.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
There's currently, according to one source in the city, there's 700 red tagged homes out there right now.
I believe it. I was on one of their computers downtown, and he was just swiping through the list, and each one had a file of the house, of all the photos, and it's a mess.
Wow.
Yeah,
That ain't no joke.
yeah.
It's serious business. Yeah.
So if you could kind of tell us a little bit how you kind of stumbled across the property, kind of what your thoughts were about it, how your plan to execute, and grab this property.
So I came across the property via email blast. I've been on your list for years. I haven't really been active in flipping or buying wholesale properties since, it's been a number of years since I've been really active in it. But I decided to get started this year, liquidated some other investment properties we were holding for years, and we jumped right in. So saw the property, I liked it, just made a move on it, went to see it, and then decided to make a move on it. It was a good deal for us. So right now we're going through with an engineer, getting everything, and who's also a master electrician, master plumber, getting all the permits, getting all the pre-work done for the permits. We're just going to rewire the house, redo all the electrical. There was 2 meters that needed to be consolidated into one, so it's just some work that just had to be
From when it was the duplex.
just some stuff that's going to have to be dealt with regardless. So we're going to spend some more money on it, and we're going to tighten up a couple other things, but there wasn't really a whole lot else to do, so we feel pretty good about it.
Yeah,
as opposed to going into something that
He's gonna make a killing, man. And I'm happy for y'all. You know what I mean? And
I
that's.
appreciate that.
I appreciate you for getting me out of this, because there's a lot of investors that the whole permit thing scares them, right? They don't they don't have a whole background knowledge on it, right?
I'm scared.
And you know what I mean? But you're gonna kill it. I know what the ARV is over there. I know what the comps are there. You're gonna kill it. You got it, so where you can make your money on the buy, and that's what I'm happy for you. It's a good deal for you. It's good for me because I want to specialize in something else. So I was just happy to get out of it. And I was very thankful for Alex to be able to take care of me and for us to come together today and do this.
Yeah, it was a process, man, and we were both trying to hang in there and trying to make sure we just get them the help he wanted. I quickly wanted to do some shout outs. Can we do some shout outs on who's watching?
So far we have Blue Waters Investment.
Thanks, Blue Waters, aka Hernando RC, aka the Governor. Make sure y'all follow his YouTube. His YouTube channel, he has over 60 videos of how-tos in wholesale. So go reach out to him. I'm sure if he's watching this right now, he's going to go ahead and put his link, as I would, in the comments, and go ahead and follow his YouTube channel. Shout out to him. Man, I've known this man since I first started, and let me tell you, man, that's my partner in crime right there. MIB. Who's the next one?
We got Amber and we have America.
Hi Amber. Hi America. How y'all doing? I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you for following us. America, I appreciate you. You've always been a big supporter of Hilco Homes, you and Erica, and so we're just very appreciative of y'all as well. Thank you, Amber, for tuning in. Big supporter as well. I appreciate you. Anybody else?
That's it.
Cool, awesome. Any questions? Nobody has questions?
No questions yet.
Okay, cool, awesome. Everybody's like ready. Everybody's working, getting ready for that back to. Oh well, it's already back to school, man, but everybody's real busy with.
Or they're all running downtown to pull permits,
Hey,
right now.
What time do we close?
Right. Yeah.
So if you can tell me, what things would want the next new investor going into their first flip to know, maybe some tips and tricks that you've learned.
If you come across a contractor in San Antonio, I would say when they show you their contract and when they put a bid for you, that it needs to say on their contract that I will pull permits for everything that I'm going to subcontract out. So it's in writing, you see it. You don't have to constantly like, hey, did you pull a permit for that? You know, and just go by their word, and they're not doing it. You finish a project, later you find out you did a whole new roof, they didn't pull a permit, and you're just like, oh great, you know, I have to do some stuff different, and it's a mess. So if you follow the steps accordingly, there's not going to be extra little hoops later that you have to go through. And you know, like we were saying, certain areas with your renovation that look great, you know, they're going to have to come in, do a rough-in is what they call it, and the splice up areas and the sheetrock, and then they got to do their examination, you know, because they haven't seen what you didn't pull the permit for. So
yeah, definitely. Let me ask you, what was the process like for you when you first found out about the permits and stuff like that? What was the steps that they did to ensure you couldn't do anything with it?
So how it works is they put the orange tag on your window, it's a stop work order, and then after that it tells you what you didn't pull a permit for. So once I found out about that, I had to call the inspector. I went downtown, I talked to him in person.
Where did you go to?
I went down to the development center downtown in San Antonio.
Oh, for the permit issue.
For the permit issue. So I spoke to them downtown, but the thing is if you try to call them, everyone calls them. You have to just go down there, schedule a time, and then make it happen and speak with them. And pretty much from there, you have to schedule a time for them to come in your house, and everything you haven't, you know, pulled a permit for, they need to come in and see the house and do what they need to do, right? And then after that, you know, then you can, for my situation, they had turned off the power, right? So once they come in, they see everything, if it's in code, the electrical's in code, then cool, they'll turn back the power on with CPS Energy.
And make sure you ain't working.
Yeah. So they just don't want like the house to catch on fire, whatever. It's a safety thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but with my situation, obviously they would have came in the house and then said it's not in code, and they wouldn't have still turned on the power, you know. So, but anyways, that's kind of like the process, right? So you work on the work after you have them get to come in the house, start doing inspecting and whatnot. Then you can start doing things like, okay, I want to work on electrical, right? After you're working on your electrical with your subcontractor, they pull the permit, then the inspector comes and looks at it. After they had pulled the permit though, it shows open when you search it online, but when the inspector comes back to make sure it's in code, it says closed. It says closed, that it's completed, it's in code, it's fine. So once you go down your list and you have everything on there, and it's listed on the MLS, or if you list it by owner, like everything's there, they can't orange tag your house, everything's good to go, you know. So it's just if you just follow the list, you know, and you'll be good. You know, that's the best thing I can do. You know, and then you make your money on the buy by acquiring the property at a good enough price. You do your budgeting. I didn't budget as well as I could have in this process. You know, I put a little bit more money into it. I should have had a little bit more gap funders to help me complete the process. This was more of a substantial flip for me, you know. But if you do that, there's still money to be made. You just have to follow the process. If I were to do another fix and flip, I'd kill her. You know, no matter what. From what I know now.
Oh, okay. Well, so let me ask you. So with the money, if you don't mind me disclosing this, you use private. I mean, you use your own money. On this one. Are you going to be doing that on the next flip?
What I'm doing next, like, I don't want to get too off topic as far as this goes, but I want to get into multifamily, right?
Yeah. So
multifamily is about net operating income. All right, it's about cap rate. For me, I want to specialize in distress, but not too distressed. Maybe class B, not like something class D, something crazy, right? Yeah. I want to take that money that I'm getting from the tenant income, and I can use that to purchase a new acquisition. But at the same time, that as you're adding value to the property, right? Once you change, the rents and whatnot, all of a sudden your whole NOI changes, and then later when you resell the property, you have that middle area for the appreciation of what you've done that you can 1031. And there's that whole snowball effect, and you can do that with fix and flip too. Like I'm saying, it's just what you want to specialize in. You can do that whole 1031 and get into bigger fix and flips, whatever, right? So that's the beauty of real estate, financial levers, compounding returns. Don't leave your money in the bank. Put it in real estate and get to work.
So awesome.
This is the way I see it. So.
Yeah, he's been researching every time since the whole deal was going on. He would always text me with a whole bunch of stuff that he's been researching and stuff. I'm like, man, this guy is really it's not comparing you to somebody, but I'm like want to give an example. It reminds me of those dudes who like get wrongfully convicted and like they read the whole legal book and the laws and they
lawyers.
save themselves out. That's pretty much what you did here in this scenario with the house.
In this
You're like,
scenario,
I saved myself, man. You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, regarding you, if you don't mind me asking, how often do you flip?
So I haven't done any in quite a while. I got into real estate investing by flipping. And this was a long time ago. And then the market kind of dried up in '08, so we put it on hold for a while. We just held on to what we had, and then when the market appreciated again, we started selling them off. And we started investing in vacation rentals down on the coast, and Hurricane Harvey came in.
Oh, yeah, that's
So it's
awesome.
like, so we started diverting it back into flipping.
Yeah.
I mean, things were just too expensive to buy and hold over the last few years, so we kind of just, and the
Cut that out.
market's great for flipping.
Yeah,
So, so I'm just kind of picking it up again, but I've been active in real estate the whole time, so I'm helping investors do the same thing, and I have been consistently for the last 15 years or so. And if I can give anybody one bit of advice is have somebody competent look at your ARV numbers. That's the one number that's pretty much set in stone. With the way appraisers work now, and the way that they're just, I don't want to say conservative. I mean, our market's gone up quite a bit, so in a way they're kind of conservative, but they're just very careful and they're very set on that value that they assign it. So what you don't want to do is fudge that number, end up paying too much, putting too much into the property, and then you don't get the returns that you're looking for because that ARV number is set. And we don't set it. Even the realtors who give you that value opinion, whoever it is, doesn't set that. The appraiser sets that. So we have to think like an appraiser. We have to run ARVs like an appraiser, have to repair value, and make sure that you can sell it for that price. Because when you start inflating that, you end up spending too much, you put too much into the house, and then it's not really rising. What's shrinking is your profit margin.
Right.
If you don't mind me asking, it is not regarding permits, but when you look at a property, what do you want to be typically, like a range? You give me a range. What's range do you typically want to be at all in for a property, based off of the ARV?
It really just depends on. There's a lot of factors that play in. So something like this. Being most of the work was done, it was more of a low risk. This was just a good one all around. Something newer, I would take more risk on. I would be okay. Like let's just say I bought a house that was 15 years old, and it was what we consider cosmetic flip. Paint, carpet, maybe some kind of nothing structural, nothing with the electrical system, nothing with the HVAC or plumbing, just basic cosmetics. I'll take more of a risk on that. I'll look for a little lower profit margin. But if I were to go out and buy a house like you did and buy something built in the 30s, that are really, it hadn't been looked at, it hadn't really been worked, then I'm looking for a much higher return on that because I know there's a much higher potential for me to get a surprise, a bad surprise.
Absolutely.
So it just depends. So basically, when I first started doing this, $8,000 to $12,000 was a good return on a flip. 20,000 was a home run. Nowadays, we're kind of looking for more like a minimum of 20 to 25. On up to whatever we can get, and it's just all based on risk assessment.
So when you buy a property, how quickly do you want to be in and out? Typically, like 3 months or maybe 6 months, like it's max.
ASAP. If we can get out in three is usually the goal. A lot of times it doesn't happen. Just market conditions. Permits, paperwork, contractors get They always say whenever you're given a budget and a timeline by a contractor, double them both, and then that'll set your expectations right. Really, 3 to 4 months ideally, but a lot of them end up running 6.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, but.
So we're going back to permits. I mean, that's. I was just like so intrigued on how you do things. So we're going back to permits. Have you personally dealt with issues with permits, like when you first got started? And
I got lucky. I relied on my contractors a lot, and they could have really taken it either way. I'm sure some of them never pulled permits. Others did, for sure. I know for a fact. So, a lot of it is I think I just got fortunate where I never got put in a situation by a contractor like you did. But me personally, as far as going downtown and pulling them, I never had. But I've never really done the work myself either. So.
No,
I haven't had any issues.
Well, seeing, and I'm sure you kind of you pay attention to San Antonio and the rules and regulations regarding real estate. But did you start it like looking more at permits, at more of a serious thing as the years have gone by since you've been here because of how strict they're getting with this. So now you're making sure that permits are pulled.
I mean, honestly, this experience, it has really opened my eyes a lot more to where I'm gonna definitely double check with my, before I just put it on my contract. I never really worried about it. I just
Well, I mean, I built that trust.
they were doing what they had to do. But to be honest, I never really checked on, but now I definitely will because it's gotten a whole lot more serious.
Oh yeah,
the fines are expensive, and the red tape just to get around it is even worse. So
definitely.
yeah, it's something we're gonna take serious for sure at this point moving forward.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I myself, I'm leaning towards more of the burst strategy, but I would definitely love to get my hands on some fix and flips. I'm going to be purchasing a property next month. I'm very excited about, but I'm still kind of iffy. I've been just through my experience seeing the issues and the hassle with the fix and flips. It kind of just, I don't know if I'm I mean, I'm sure the money's good, don't get me wrong, but it's the headache. You know what I'm saying? And with me, I tend to think more long term. So like the burst strategy for me, I feel like I would totally be comfortable with, just because I'm in investments long term. I'd rather sacrifice now for the first year or two, not making my money back, as long as I can make my money back way more, within.
So we got a question. This is from Hernando. It says, question for Zach. This was a duplex converted to a single family. What are the things to watch for?
So the one thing with that is you want to make sure you only have one address on record. Number two, like we were told by the city, we're going to have to consolidate the electrical service, and it's split right now in between 2 meters, and that's going to have to be rebuilt and consolidated, and we're going to have to replace and so basically there's 2 100 amp service panels there now, so we're going to have to make it one 200 amp service panel and 1 meter. Those are a couple things there.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
No, but it looks like Hernando posted a link to the website for what you guys were talking about earlier with permits.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I was going to say his YouTube channel. Promote it, bro. Put it on there. What me and him do is every time there's a case of 12 news or something like that, newscast starts live.
Yeah.
We go in there, we buy houses.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but sometimes we get kicked out. And we'll be banned forever. I'm like, can't watch the news now. No, definitely. It's been very exciting. Doing this deal. It's not my first deal that I've been in this situation before. I get wholesalers coming to me. I get other sellers reaching out to me, or other agents who follow us on Hilco Homes. It seems to be more and more becoming more common with permit issues. It is really crazy. They're like, oh man, I didn't pull permits. Oh man, I didn't know how to pull permits. Oh, I didn't pull permits. Like, jeez. And then they and I'm sure that hits hard when when you first find out that there's a work order. You're like, well, what is it? And I think that's how you were, right? You're like, oh, well, what is it? I'm thinking, it's not my windows, right?
Yeah, it's just exactly not scraping it off,
He's like, hey man, I just fixed these windows. It's crazy.
We have another question again from Hernando. Can the city deny the conversion? I'm assuming talking about converting a duplex to a single family.
Yep.
That I'm not aware of. Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well, I believe if it's zone property like mixed use, I don't see why there would be a problem with it. That's pretty much what this property was. It was a mixed use property, and you were able, and the family description on this is single family. So that was
It's more trouble to convert a single family home to a duplex than it is to convert it back, especially if the layout's correct.
I would say the only thing that they maybe be able to deny is I laid a beam right to where it was separated to make sure the roof stays up and everything. So that's important. The only thing they would deny is let's say I never laid that that beam through the hallway. They'd be like, well, you need to fix the structure and whatnot. They can come in and go, okay, cool, the structural's fine, it's in code, or they might say, hey, you need to add maybe one more beam or something. But as long as the structural's fine, I couldn't see them saying, hey, you can't. You can't change it over to a 3-bedroom. You just have to make sure the structural is in code for it to be the 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. If you don't mind me asking, how when you had to go down and pay the fees and stuff like that, was it expensive as you thought it was going to be, or was it like just very minimal? But it was just like they just trying to seem like they were just trying to stack one on top of each other.
Each one. So it was HVAC, electrical, windows, structural. And they just kind of put them all at the same thing, like $300 per fee. And then if you go down to the court, you have your court date. Pretty much you can fight with the judge or whatever, or you don't have to show up, and then it just goes to default, and you just pay it, right? Because you didn't pull the permits, you still have to pay the fee, But if you're gonna pull the permit later, it's additional cost, So.
Would you know any fees that that you would have to pay for like foundation, like is it all one set price for each permit, or does it vary on the size of the house? Or?
No, they send you just a paper in the mail, and it just foundation or whatever that you get. It just outlines it. It said you didn't pull a permit for this. It's just what they see when they go by your house when they're not there, when they put the stop work order orange tag on your window.
No, what I'm referring to is because you said you pulled a permit.
Right.
Was it?
That was after the fact. It was after the fact.
Oh, that's okay.
Because I thought my previous contractor was going to pull the permit for foundation, and I guess there was some kind of, maybe he was trying to get the bid low or whatever. There was some kind of miscommunication. So I hit up my foundation guy and I said, hey, can you pull the permit for this, right? And then he did. And then by doing some other stuff, getting some structural engineer paperwork, the whole thing cost me like $700, right? So regardless, there was that fee. If I just done it right the first time, then there it is. Boom, shows up on the link for the permits pulled by the address, and then it's right there,
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. How much time do you have left, my man?
We're at 33 minutes, so we still have a little bit of time.
Awesome.
If you wanna wrap up, you can.
Awesome. Well, this I actually still want to keep going. To be honest with you. Like this is, I love talking about things like this because this is, permits is a big issue, and it's just sad for me to see as a wholesaler how many people are coming to me with issues like this, and I want to make sure we give as much information as possible. So, is there anything else that maybe we can add to pulling permits, or maybe dealing with finding contractors? Any advice on finding a contractor?
It's fun. I mean, everybody's beliefs on this probably are different than mine. It just depends on the person, right? But I think that you can be your own GC. You can go downtown. You can get your license for it. Subcontract your own work. Go find your own electrician and whatnot. Do your own bids. Yeah. If you do that, and then you can talk to them directly. Say, hey, are you gonna pull the permit for this? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let me see it. And then pull up your address and you can see it. Cool. The whole GC thing, you don't even need a general contractor. I know a lot of people disagree with me with that. I talked to the inspector downtown. He's like, just come do the class, be your own GC. I'm like, it makes sense. Might as well just subcontract all my stuff, and then you can even make money on the side doing that. If you do it right, then you're in real estate. Plus, you're doing that for people, and you have your own whole team that you're giving to other people in the area, and then you're just rolling in the dough, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's ways to do that.
And actually, you have your own team, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Is it just made up of is it? Would you say, because you said you had an electrical engineer? So you have a team of foundation, plumbing, roofing,
Yeah, I mean, different companies. Now we have one particular guy who's a master electrician, HVAC, and plumber, and he's also an engineer. So.
Talented.
He's got a lot of credentials. So he kind of heads it up, and then he kind of subs out whatever with his guys what he's doing, and it's kind of a new relationship. So we're on our second one. We're just getting started with him. So so far so good, and it's quick, easy, and it's kind of a one-stop shop.
So let me ask you, when you're dealing with general contractors, how do you kind of pick them out? I know you just don't pick out anybody. What is a must for you as a general in order for them to get the work?
So for me, I mean, I have to have a personal reference or two. Someone who recommended these guys and they've done good work. Of course, the next thing is the credentials. We want to make sure the credentials are up to date, they're licensed, bonded, they just have everything in order, and then that they're. Another thing that works for me that I like is when people are familiar with how the city of San Antonio works as far as our permitting process.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a guy who's, hey, yeah, I know this guy by first name, you know, hey, it's a lot easier to get somebody and push through, you know, when you know people by first name, as opposed to, I've never pulled a permit. I have a license, but I've never pulled a permit. So those are kind of, you know, we want somebody who's local, we want someone who's used to working in this system and in this city. Second thing is, like I said, the experience and a couple of references. You know, probably there's a lot of horror stories about contractors running off with the initial deposit and the first draw for different projects, right? I mean, that's very common. So we just want to make sure that doesn't happen to us, and then, you know, you just do good quality work, you know. And one thing, the funny thing is, I'm gonna beat them up on their price, on their quote. You know, I will not nickel and dime. If they give me a fair price and they do everything they say they're gonna do, it's money earned. It helps me to move on to the next property, because it's not always about making as much money as you can on each deal. Sometimes it's about being able to move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's about volume.
You know?
That's what I try to do.
Yeah, if you could do, you know, okay, if you can skim an extra 5% off of 10 projects, okay, great, man, you're doing awesome. But what if you could just forget about saving the 5%, but, you know, streamlining the process, having a good team together, motivating them to work harder and faster, allows you to do 2 more deals that year. I mean, think about the ROI on that. I mean, it's a lot different.
Yeah,
It's a lot
definitely.
better.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's they say it's expensive to hire good contractors, but it's also expensive to hire bad. You know, so I
Cheap
tell people.
pay twice, you know.
Yeah, cheap people.
I don't know where it comes from. My wife always tells me that. Hey, you cheap, you pay twice. So
Yeah.
either pay up front or pay later, you know.
Yeah.
How many general contractors have you gone through, if you don't mind me asking, like till you found one particular good one?
You
that
know,
you're like,
to
this
be
is it?
honest, I haven't done many. I'm probably on the 3rd guy since I started doing this. The guys I used to use in the past, there was a big break. There were several years there where I didn't do this at all. Those guys just got out of the business. They went back to doing, you know, it was when this kind of thing was hot, and they had a job before. They kind of did this part-time, jumped into it. Then when it slowed down in 2008, just like I did, they kind of jumped out of it. So I'm only on the 2nd guy really in the last probably 7 or 8 years, and you know, most of the time, just people just get out of the business. You know, they move away, they just get out of the business.
If you don't mind me asking, like when you have a general contractor who only like does all your projects, do you pay them extra to stick only to you, so that way you can keep your deals moving, or do you allow them, or do you try to work around them working with other investors?
I mean, ideally that's how you'd like it to be, to where, you know, they worked exclusively for you, and you know. But now these guys, they kind of they do multiple things, and that's not really a requirement for me. You know, as long as it's done within a reasonable amount of time, it's not really something I worry about. But you do what you want to do is, you don't want to lose a good contractor.
Yeah,
so what you try to do is you try to get them on another project right away. Because if they jump on let's say they jump on a 6-month project, then you might not be able to get them back for 6 months, you know. So
so you want to keep them busy.
yeah, you want to try to keep them busy.
I get a lot of people telling me that. They're like, yeah, I need to keep these guys busy, man.
Yeah, when you
Give me
find
another one.
someone good, you got to keep them working.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go find work somewhere else. And then, like I said, the thing is sometimes just getting them back or having to start the process over again, vetting people and, you know, all that.
Definitely. Now, if you don't mind me asking, why do you just focus yourself on the east side of San Antonio, or do you do all around? As long as the numbers just work, you don't care. Do you have a particular?
It's all about the numbers. Personally, I live in the Northwest. I prefer doing work in the Northwest, just because my office is there, my home's there. It's easier for me to check on. But it really all comes down to the numbers and what's available at the time. So if I had the option of picking between 3 or 4 flips, I'll probably pick one closer to me geographically, if the numbers are right. But if there's nothing available and you have money to put to work, you just go wherever the best deal is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
And we don't mind traveling, and you know, it doesn't matter. It's just easier when it's closer, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think everybody would agree with you on that one. And you Shane, I believe you were more like focusing more on the north side, right? You're like, no more east side stuff, right?
I know that San Antonio's continuing to grow, even with all the traffic we're in, right? A lot of people are moving here.
Yeah, they never finished 35.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy right now. But I mean, just for me, like I want to get more in the northwest areas, even northeast areas. They're building a lot out there. And just find a new property over there. I mean, I'm not opposed to the east side. It's just like you said, the numbers have to work, right?
Yeah.
If the numbers work, then cool. You know, I just have to. I need to get into something today. You know, after this. So.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's just a timing thing. You have to put that money to work.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're in a 1031 situation or something like that. You have limited time. You got to identify those properties and you have to close on them. So.
Do you do any wholesaling yourself by chance? Like maybe have you ever done any wholesale deals yourself?
No. Nope.
Okay, awesome.
Never sold a wholesale.
No, he said I bought a wholesale. I bought a wholesale. Awesome. Was definitely a pleasure. And if there's anything else that maybe we can inform other people getting into real estate, it'd be the time. Would you like to say anything?
I think that's pretty much all I have.
That's pretty much it. Just do your homework. Be careful.
Yeah,
do your due diligence the best you can. You can't always take the time that you need to have inspections and all that stuff done like you would in a normal real estate transaction when purchasing wholesale properties. But you can vet your contractor. You can do other things. Again, make sure those ARV numbers are tight. That's just one thing you can't fudge on. You can cut corners on your rehab. You can talk people down when you're purchasing property sometimes, but one thing you can't do is inflate the ARV. That's where you're going to end up losing. I've seen a lot of people, as a realtor, as a broker, representing them, seen a lot of people lose money and get in trouble because they wanted to inflate the ARV. But it's capped, there's a ceiling, and that's it. Don't violate those numbers, and you should be okay.
No, I agree with you. I think I'm not trying to speak anybody in general pointing me out, but I do see a lot of influx of wholesalers coming in, and everybody thinks they're good on numbers, and they're just getting too excited about it because how lucrative wholesaling is that they kind of tend to inflate that ARV more than where they need to be at. You know what I'm saying? And so I would definitely encourage all the wholesalers to do the ARV, do the comps correctly, and always have support, always have credibility, always have comparisons to show your buyer, your investor, hey, look, this is what the ARV is. We ran to this. Sometimes what I like to do with certain buyers that I'm trying to get as an investor to purchase one of my properties is I kind of go above and beyond an ARV. I'll try to get 3 different comparisons from 3 different people that I trust numbers and compare it and show them, look, I trust these people, these are the numbers. I got it from this guy separately, I got for this guy separately, I got this guy. This is what the ARV is. Because there's credibility behind that, you get people to tend to trust you more on it, right? And that's just with that's just with rehab as well. You're gonna tell me it's 30-40. I'm gonna ask you how do you have it, how did you get that number, and I'm gonna ask if you have a rehab bid to support it. Now there's 2 types of bids you can get. You can get a soft bid where it's just general, this is how much everything's gonna cost, or you can get a hard bid, but hard bids typically cost you money because nobody's not just gonna sit there and type up a whole list of things and not get paid for it. It's just not gonna happen. So soft bids always work, but you want to have a rehab bid by a legitimate company. Man, you can tell how legitimate and professional they are by their header on the paper. To me that just shows, okay, I believe more that number and that rehab bid came from a legitimate contractor because of the paper itself. Sometimes people just write stuff and I'm like, hey, you could wrote that. So I definitely encourage you always have credibility, have tools to support your ARV, your rehab, your numbers just in general. Because building credibility builds stronger bonds with you and your buyers and you and your sellers. It goes both ways with sellers as well. You can always tell the seller, this is what your property's worth, but if it comes from you, they're not going to believe you, okay? But if they say it, they have credibility in their eyes because they've had somebody that showed them this and that, they're going to believe them because there's credibility behind it, right? But, so I think that's pretty much all we have for today. If there's no other questions or anything like that, it's pretty much, the episode for today is very short. I would like to thank Shane Hudson and Zachary Taylor. I don't know, you want me to call you Zachary or Zach?
Please.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. So So Zach Taylor, appreciate them both for coming in. It's very, it's very great opportunity to be able to solve one problem and help somebody solve their problem and getting their next investment property. So that's all we have today. Also, do you have a YouTube channel? I believe you do, right?
It's just if you go on YouTube and search Shredded Shane.
Shredded
I
Shane.
just had that name forever. I'm trying to change it to Shane Hudson.
Shredder.
Yeah, I gotta get, I think, more followers before you can change your name.
Awesome. And he's also looking to purchase multifamily, right?
Multifamily,
Cool.
yeah.
You want to kind of give out your email out there so that way
Yeah, it's Shane's, plural, Shane's Real Estate Portfolio at gmail.com. You can send me your multifamily deals, preferably northwest, northeast areas. Like I said, I'm not opposed to the east side as long as the numbers work. And I'll go from there.
Awesome. As well as you, do you have anything you would like to,
I really don't have a YouTube. I'm not an active YouTuber, but if you need any help running ARV again, even if you just need a second opinion, shoot me an email. My email address is ztaylor@remax.net.
Awesome. Be careful because a lot of people are going to reach out to you.
If you need help on the resale too, we'll list them, we'll sell them for you, we'll get you the highest return that we can possibly get, what the market will bear.
So, wow, that's a lot of value right there. That's a lot of value.
Oh, the last thing I want to add really quick is, right, if you want to get into real estate, right, and you want to acquire a property, you want to do a fix and flip, like my situation, even if you get a property from Alex and you did run into this permit issue, maybe you're sitting here thinking, oh shoot, I ran into this issue, and you're watching right now. At the end of the day, guess what? Even if you sell it for not what you're going to get, you're still going to make money in real estate. Right. Whether it be in stocks or Forex or whatever, all these other crypto, like you're not going bust, right? You're going to get some money and you can get back into something else. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's peace of mind of getting into real estate, especially with wholesalers, is that, hey, they can go find you a deal.
It's a solid asset-backed investment too. So
you're good to go.
Awesome. I love that. Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in into the Hilco Homes Ask Wholesale Show. My name is Alex Shaw. You can reach out to me if you have any off-market properties that you need help moving. Reach out to me at alex@hilcohomes.com, or you can also send it to deals@hilcohomes.com. If you don't want to go through me, that's fine, no problem. You send it to deal@hilcohomes.com, and we will touch base with you about your property and help you move your property. If you're watching this and you're an investor who's had trouble pulling permits and you need a way out, or maybe you just ran out of money and you need help, don't be scared, to reach out to wholesalers, all right? Specifically our company, okay? Because we do our best. We love to help people. We love to solve problems. We love to get you paid, okay? So reach out to me at 210-717-7458. Call, text, 24 hours, 3 a.m. Don't call me, but you text me, I'll probably be awake, okay? Because I work so much. All right, love and peace. Okay. I don't think I might be like that. Ooh, man.